Hello and welcome to Channel's Book Club. My name is Olakunle Kasumo, and it's great to be on the show where we discuss all things books. Today, we are diving into a genre that Nigerian writers ever dabble into. I'm talking about fantasy fiction. You tell me, how many Nigerian writers have you seen write something, write a book or publish a book on fantasy fiction? Well, we've got a young man, a talented new author who is bold, courageous, and has dabbled into this genre that is tricky, very tricky to write on. I'm talking about an author that is Nigerian, that is 24 years old, and lives in the United States of America. Let's get to meet with him and then enjoy this conversation.
Tobenna Urakba is an accountant and a fantasy fiction author. An alumnus of Day Waterman College, Urakba has a bachelor's degree in accounting and finance and a master's degree in accounting. He currently works as an accountant in Maryland, USA. Tobenna Urakba joins Channel's Book Club to discuss his debut novel, Guardian of the Locket.
Tobenna, welcome to Channel's Book Club. It's great to have you on the show.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
Well, the pleasure is mine. I feel honored to have you on the show because of how impressed
Thank you.
I am with your book. You have a big fan here.
Thank you so much. That makes me happy to hear.
Great. I mean, your book caught me from the beginning. A distant world, separate from our own world, with its own tussles, its own struggle for power by the people there, the politics happening there, the love stories, the quests, the ambitions of people, and all that, and juxtaposing all that with our own world. It's just so. It just caught me from the beginning. Zach's father, who was king of Uronia. Is that the name of the other world?
It's pronounced Orenia.
Orenia. Oh, thank you very much.
Yes.
Who was king of Orenia, who was murdered by one of his lieutenants, and he leaves the locket for his son, heir to the throne, and who's 18 years old, and he picks it up, and the locket attached to his chest, and he became the hair apparent and all that. It just caught me from the very first page. And I think that is the stuff of good books, good novels. At least for me, I don't like reading a novel at the beginning. I'm wondering what's going on. I'm already bored in the first 5 minutes. But when you catch my attention from the beginning, boy. So well done.
Thank you. That's the point of every novel. It has to hit from the very first page.
So while I have sort of narrated bits of the novel, I'm still going to leave that to you to introduce us to your novel. What inspired it? What are readers going to find in it?
Yeah, so The Guardian of the Locket is a medieval fantasy novel, and it follows the journey of Zachary Belmont, and he's an 18-year-old American, and he discovers that he's the next king of this mysterious kingdom called Orenia, and he's also the next guardian of the Locket. So Orenia is a kingdom that exists within our world, but is hidden from the rest of the world, so nobody knows it exists, not even Zach himself. And in Orenia, there's this locket that is the symbol of power in the kingdom, and it holds the souls of all the previous rulers of Orenia, and it determines who the next ruler will be. So when Zach encounters this locket, the locket chooses him as the next king of Orenia. And it's at that point that he discovers that his ancestors from his dad's side of the family have ruled Orenia for over 1,000 years, and now the burden has been passed onto his shoulder. And with all that knowledge, armed with all that knowledge, he now decides that he will travel to Orenia to claim the throne that's rightfully his. But of course, it's not as easy as it sounds because um, Zach's father, the previous king, was actually murdered by his chief minister, Adil. And now Adil is leading a rebellion to claim the throne for himself. So Zach has to travel to Orania not just to try and win the throne, but he has to also try and win the war against Adil and restore peace to the kingdom. That's what you can expect from the first installment. Lots of betrayal, murder, adventure, war. So yeah, and what inspired me was I watched a lot of fantasy shows, read lots of fantasy novels that delve into this kind of genre, especially Game of Thrones, very popular show. Maybe you've heard of it, I don't know, but that's one of my main inspirations.
Have I heard of Game of Thrones? Come on, I'm not that old.
You can never be too sure.
Yeah,
Most people
yeah.
have heard of it, but not all, not
I'm
all.
no, just yanking your chain. well, I mean, if what you just narrated now does not excite somebody, I mean, that story is just really, really captivating story. I mean, it's just. And how did you develop such a creative mind? Because I know you are an accountant, and I know
Yes.
accountants they deal with numbers, and they are not very famous for being exactly
No.
creative. All due respect to all the great accountants out there, just deal with numbers and figures and
Yes.
balance sheets and all that. So how did you become so creative minded? How did your mind form? You just said now you used to read fantasy novels and all that, but I mean, how did you get
Yeah.
there?
Yeah. So from a young age, I've always been told and I've always known myself that I had like a vivid imagination. And I think that stemmed from being an only child for 10 years. So much of my childhood, like I didn't have anyone around my age with me. So I had to think of creative ways to entertain myself. And that's where I think, developed a creative mind. But I didn't really nurture it until I got into like my late teens, around like 17, 16, 17, 18, 19, and beyond. That's when I decided to like form a passion for writing. And yeah, when I came here to the US for university, my first semester I took a fiction writing class, and that was actually when I came up with the idea for this story. And since then, I've been developing it. And my parents, it took me a while to actually start writing it. And my parents would always ask, like, this novel, when is it coming? When is it coming? What's going on? But I feel like it was a necessary process for me to actually grow, mature, evolve as a person before turning the ideas in my head into finished product. So it's been a very interesting journey. I definitely never expected 10 years ago that I would be the author of a published novel, but I'm glad that I've been able to nurture my talents while also being employed as an accountant. So yeah, it's been
You
it's
know,
been great.
I mean, you don't know how inspiring I find this, and how inspiring it could be for so many people out there. You are 25, if I'm correct.
24, 25 this year
I
in
mean,
July.
it's just you are just inspiring. I mean, to all
Thank
the
you.
young people out there, your story says to them that you can do whatever it is you dream of doing. You are working, you are a graduate of accountancy, you are working as an accountant, yet you have created a time to write this novel that is just great novel, really. And it's the first of a trilogy. You're going to write more. The
Yes.
great Chinua Achebe wrote the iconic, the legendary Things Fall Apart at the age of 27. A lot of people don't know that. I mean, he wrote many great books after, but Things Fall Apart was written when he was 27, 27, 28, thereabouts. It's just an incredible story, and well done on this. Now, let me get a peep, and let the rest of us give us a peep into the way your mind crafted all these characters in your book: Adel, Zach, Kevin, Kent, Cecil, Catherine, and the rest of all these all these characters. How did you come up with your characters?
Yeah, it was definitely an interesting process. Zach was obviously the first one that came to my mind. I felt like because I've watched lots of different shows where you have the cliche teenager protagonist male, and I wanted to follow that cliche, but just to an extent. I didn't want him to be the hero that everybody expects, like Spider-Man or things like that. I wanted a captivating character that could develop in many different ways. Like he's a good person at heart, he has empathy, but as you see as you go through the book, he changes. He's forced to change because he's dropped into like a brutal world that killed his father, that will kill him at an instant. So he's forced to adapt. He's forced to develop into a different person, and that doesn't mean he becomes a bad person, but he's also human and he's capable of making mistakes. He's capable of having depth to him. So I didn't want a cliche protagonist that can't do no wrong or is perfect in people's eyes. No, Zach is a very complex character. So that's the idea I was going for with him. With Adil is one of my favorite characters, my favorite villain. Whenever people read my book, I I want them to like him, even though he's the antagonist to Zack. I want them to like him because there's so much more to his character than being like an evil person that's standing in Zack's way. He also has his own ambitions. He has his own motivations that are at heart. They're grounded in good because he wants to do right by his kingdom. He's he didn't grow up with privilege, and he knows what it's like to be left out and to be counted out, and he uses that to his advantage in a lot of ways when he tries to claim power for himself. So he's not your classic mustache twirling villain that is evil for the sake of being evil. He has his own backstory and his own complex motivations, and he's not an evil person. He's just doing things the wrong way.
Yeah,
And
when
a
I
lot about the other characters. Yeah.
yeah when I first you confused me a little bit with Adol because at the beginning he's king. I mean, he murdered his king, slaughtered his king,
Yes.
and then the next time I'm meeting this guy, he's talking so philosophically about kingdom building, about uh, I mean, the kingdom is short of money, and somebody is suggesting, why don't you tax the people? And Adil said, no,
Yes.
no, 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 I don't want the people to suffer. And I'm like,
Yes.
hey, Mr. Mudra, you should you should want everybody to suffer. After all, you're a murderer. So that was when I began to get an idea of the way you were trying to shape his character and the kind of person
Yes.
you're trying to make him to be. So how does it work for you in real life? I mean, because for somebody who thinks like this about people, the way the way you created your characters in your novel, I'm wondering is that the way you look at people when you relate, interact with people generally? You must be somebody who understands human nature. Is that correct?
Yeah, I would say so. Not to be my own horn, but I think I have a decent understanding of the way people act. People are very layered, and what they show you on the surface may not be who they truly are. People wear masks all the time to depending on the situation they're in. So I've come to understand that, and I'm a, I would say I'm an introverted person in the sense that I don't really, like in a big crowd, I don't really talk much. I mostly watch, observe, listen. And I think that helps me a lot, like understanding people's nature and watching their body language, the way they speak, the tone of their voice, things like that inform what the person is truly thinking. So yeah, I do observe people quite a lot, and I'm not so naive to think that what you're presenting to me is the person that you actually are. There are many layers, like I
Hmm.
said.
Hmm. If you walk into a bookshop, which section are you
Yes.
likely to walk towards first? Would that be would that be fiction, and would you be looking for science fiction novels?
Yeah, fiction,
Would that be where you walk to?
fantasy fiction. Yeah, fantasy novels in the fiction area. That's my go-to.
Do you read
That's my
do
go-to.
you read books outside of that genre at all? Which, if
What
that didn't exist, what would you be reading?
Probably science fiction. Like there's this series called Dune. It's very popular here in the US. It's a dystopian kind of setting. It's different from fantasy. It's science fiction. So that would probably be my next favorite genre. And just like action, mystery kind of novels as well. I would love to read those. Spy novels. So but my main genre the last 2 years I've been reading exclusively fantasy novels, and that's also been helping me develop my own writing techniques and styles.
What do you make of Nigerian writers? I know you writers, always speak so nicely about it, one another and all that. But frankly, what do you think about Nigerian writers? They don't write the kind of books you obviously like to read, the kind of books that you obviously like to, write too. What do you make of Nigerian writers?
I mean, I know we are famous for our biographies. You find lots of Nigerian authors writing biographies, and I personally would like to see more Nigerian writers and authors delve into the field that I'm currently in, the fantasy, action, just general fiction field, because it has such a vast audience. Like we spoke about Game of Thrones earlier, like it's the most popular show in the world, and that's for a reason. It captivates people from the start, and it's garners an audience from Australia to London to Africa to the US. And yeah, I feel like if we delve more into fiction, we would be more well known, and it opens a lot of doors, in my opinion. So I would love to see more Nigerian authors in this space, because it would be great.
And I hope you're working on getting a Nigerian publisher, because that will also help with easy access to the book in Nigeria. A lot of you very
I don't.
talented, yeah, a lot of you very talented Nigerian writers in the diaspora. I mean, you write great books. We've had a few on the show, great book, and my head is always like, oh, I wish Nigerians could, find your books a lot easier and all that. So maybe you might want to
Mm,
look into that. That would be very helpful. But for Nigerians, who are a little bit, I
yes.
mean, going on Amazon and all that might be a little bit for them. But absolutely, I'm pretty happy that this book has been introduced, and somebody out there is teared up to just find your book and read. And when you look for a book, you will find it to read. Um, Thank you very much, my friend. Thank you, one of my new favorite authors.
Thank you. I'm honored.
Thank
I'm
you.
honored.
When I mean, viewers will ask them, those who are asking to get on Amazon, get your book, and when you do have your book on ground in Nigeria, let's know. We'll let people know about it, so that they can get copies and read. But well done. Keep writing. Keep the other two coming in. Let's have the whole trilogy, and send me my 2 copies when they are ready.
Of course, I will. You'll be the first to receive them.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us on Channels Book Club, all the way from
Thank you for
Maryland,
having me.
USA. Thank you very much for joining us, and we hope to have you again on the show very soon, especially when you do come to Nigeria. Let's have you in the studio. Thank you.
That'll be great. Thank you for having me.
I hope you enjoyed that. I think a lot of Nigerian writers need to get more into fantasy fiction. It's a genre that young people really they have a lot of fun watching fantasy fiction movies or reading novels that are fantasy fiction based and all that. So go for it, guys. Go for it. Well, before we round up today, remember, we're still celebrating the iconic Mabel Shegun. Enjoy this.
It's a day of celebration as literary icon Mabel Shegun turns 95 years old. Even though the legendary author is physically absent, family, friends, and lovers of literature are gathered to honor a pioneer of children's literature in Nigeria. Mabel Shegun is the author of classics such as My Father's Daughter, My Mother's Daughter, Conflict and Other Poems, and Under the Mango Tree. Set up near the entrance is an expansive photo exhibition that showcases several points of Shegun's life. Within the hall, many are gathered physically and virtually to celebrate this literary star. Mabel Shegun's daughter, Amomi Shegun, speaks about her mother.
The question is, how do I see my mother, Mabel Shegun, with whom I have spent the better part of 6 decades? The image that comes to my mind is that of a powerful force that only manifests when roused deliberately or inadvertently. My mother has never suffered fools gladly, and at 95, there is still no place for fools in her life.
Many come forward to share their admiration for the veteran writer.
A playwright, short story writer, teacher, broadcaster, and national sportswoman, having also played for Nigeria in international table tennis competitions. You have been there for us since the beginning, and you are still there for us today, nurturing Nigerian literature and the Association of Nigerian Authors.
She is rich in age like the Zambezi River. Yes, she is as young at heart like a teenage rose. Today, she's over 90, and she's still as vibrant, either physically or through her works.
Nobel laureate Wole Soyinka shares his well wishes to Mabel Shegun in a heartfelt tribute message.
Auntie Mabel, all I can do is wish you many more healthy years. And, well, you may even decide to take up the pen once again. Why not? Why not? I'm thinking of a new discipline for myself, actually. I'm bored with this writing. Okay, a toast to you from beleaguered California. And I hope it's not as hot at home as it is here right now. But we survive.
The organizers of the event speak on the importance of honoring Mabel Shegun in this way.
The idea is to celebrate Mama while she's still alive with us, give her flowers while she's here, and then to pass on her legacy to generations yet unborn.
What a great woman, and we are so blessed to still have her around. This is where we have to end the show today. As always, we'll be delighted to get your feedback through any of our social media platforms displayed on your screen. My name is Olakunle Kasumu. Remember, one great book can change your life. Bye-bye.